All right, so in this tutorial, I have a business case summarized as auto create tasks when a case is created. Your org uses the case object to delegate the onboarding of new customers. The onboarding manager would like a series of tasks to be automatically added to the onboarding case object upon creation. So using this business case, what I want to do is I want to create a custom object for steps. And you could call it whatever you want, but I'm going to call them steps. And what we're going to do is ultimately, we're going to create a flow that will be triggered when the case is created. It's going to grab those steps and it's going to add them as task records and relate them to that case object. So let me show you a couple things we're going to do to get started. First, I have the meat and potatoes, like the data. And in this case, I have a series of tasks, welcome calls, data migration. These would be all like the core onboarding tasks. And then I threw in some maybe you have different onboarding objects. Maybe a billing team has their own onboarding that's going to be separate than that core onboarding. I also added the column required, and so it's either actually required, but maybe like sending a fruit basket, not required. And then I added the order in which these tasks should appear, right? So this is something maybe an admin doesn't come up with all of these tasks, but that onboarding manager comes up with them. So let's go ahead and we've created the case object already, or the case record type for onboarding. So we're going to go ahead and create a custom object, and I'm going to call this, step, and the plural will be steps. And this is going to be kind of behind the scenes, so we don't really care, about reporting or activities on this object. So I'm just going to kind of create it as is. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create the So I have to add type, which should probably be a pick list. Next. Wait, hold on. Let's double check, make sure there isn't already a type. Correct. Okay. Good. So I'm going to go make it a pick list. Next. Add type, enter our own values. I go here and I see, okay, core onboarding, and we have billing onboarding, field name type, restrict pick list to only the values in the data set. So this all looks good. Next, I'm going to go ahead and make everything the default settings. We have a layout. Awesome. The next one is going to be required, and that's going to be, a checkbox, a yes or no, true or false. Required default doesn't really matter because every value is going to either be set by us. Next, save. All right, and then the third will be order, and that's just going to be a number. And you know what? We don't need it to be, 18,000 characters. But I'm going to make it 5 characters, 0 decimals, right? So we always want it to be a whole number. In theory, I put all of this data, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but somebody might say, maybe you want to have 1 and then use 50, 100, 150, something like that, so that if we add new steps in the order, you don't have to reorder everything to fit it. You could just, use an empty spot to get the order that you want to use. But for this demonstration, I don't think that's critical. And you could always reorder them later. So awesome. So now that I have the step object created, I have these custom fields in the object, I want to load my data. Now, you can use data loader in Salesforce, but I really prefer the Salesforce Inspector, and it's super easy. I'm going to really quickly load it here for Chrome and add the extension, and you'll see just how easy it is. So is it going to pop up immediately? I might have to refresh Chrome. No, it's right here. Excellent. So all it does is it adds this little tab, and we can see a bunch of data in it. But really quickly, I'm going to do what's the data import feature. Hold on. All right, I needed to reset my browser in order to get Salesforce Inspector to work, but no big deal. And I came back. Now, if I open up Inspector and I do data import, what it brings me to is a really simple screen where I can easily do, I want to insert, I want to select our new object for step, and then it's so easy. I can just come over, grab my data, and do a copy and a paste. Unexpected token. Where is there a possible unexpected token? Let's try that again. Looks like I might have something goofy. Oh, well, I don't think this is it, but let me get rid of the quotations. There we go, that was it. And so I can easily copy paste the data from my source. If you do data loader, you just have to export, grab the file, import it. It's not very difficult, but if you're working with small amount of data at a time, I think this is way easier. Then we just want to check the field mapping. So name goes to name, type goes to type, required goes to required. Now order, notice how on my original data, I didn't use the __C to indicate the custom field name, the correct API name in Salesforce, so I can just select it really fast. It shows me what I want to do, and all I do is run and insert. It tells me 19 records will be created, and look at that, super fast, adds the data in. Now, what I can also do is I can do a data export. Then from here, I can write a really simple query, and I can do all fields on the step object. And if I run that, I can see my data in a heartbeat, which is also a lot easier than if I have to create a report in Salesforce, save it, put it in the right file. If I just need to quickly run a search, grab some ID, something like that, using the data export, writing and getting familiar with queries in SQL gets you really far, really fast. In another video, I'm going to show the flow that's going to use this data to create those task records. But this is all the prep work before we can even use the flow.